And I have met songwriters that's like have created chaos in their life in order to have plot, to have songs to write, which I think is insanity because my nervous system can't. Hey, I'm Poppy Ajudha and don't tell the gaffer I'm here. I originally wrote the song in LA as a ballad. So it was like a slow, emotional kind of piano ballad song. And it was in a different key and it was like different speed, and I just knew that it was a song that I loved and that I wanted to do something with and that it could grow, but I wasn't sure what direction, and I was kind of trying to find the right person that would work on it with me, and Grades came to mind. So we just explored a lot with the song.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it was like a ballad. It was a lot slower, it was in a lower key, so we wanted to take it into a more up-tempo space. So we sort of, I think once we lifted the key, it gave a lot more energy to your vocals.
I feel like we lifted the key a few times. We were like, how about this? Wait, how about this?
Yeah, we just kept going up, and it was like, oh, it sounds better every time. So.
Yeah, and with that run, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that run if it's like up there, but we worked it out and it was good.
Yeah, no, your vocals sound sick on it, so.
Yeah, because we redid all the vocals when I got here, because I had the song like fully formed as a ballad, but then like when we changed the key and we like sped it up and stuff, we kind of had to redo everything, re-record all of the vocals, all the harmonies, and then build out the whole song. I'm a big fan of harmonies, so I think like I always want to have as many harmonies as possible, and also just, especially in the chorus, it feeling really powerful and big. So I think like, I don't know, like triple tracking or quadruple tracking. I feel like you're a fan of that too.
Yeah, definitely. I think your voice sounds really great when it's like stacked up like that as well, and it brings like the chorus to life in particular.
Yeah, we added loads of ad libs. Remember when we were like doing all the parts at the end, and I think, the Call Army, that wasn't in the original, and we were like trying to build the last section out, and
it's like a call
really
and
big
response like canon thing.
Yeah, that was something that I think happened in post. So yeah, I think it's just a journey, I think, of developing something that tells a story and has dynamic and isn't kind of all one level all the way through, and I think that really comes from harmonies and like vocal layers and just intentionality with like how you develop the song. I think like obviously in terms of the production, that's a huge part of it, like where we're placing synths or keys or the sounds that we're using. But I think obviously as a vocalist, that's something that I always think about a lot, and how much an ad-lib can add to a verse or to the final chorus, or
Yeah, and I think from a production perspective, there was a few moments where like you have really hooky parts that we like layered up with synths, or we like pitched up an octave and like distorted and put loads of reverb like right in the background to just like accentuate those parts.
We went through so many versions of this song. I'm just remembering now.
I was just looking through the bounces. I think we have probably like 7 or 8 different versions.
Yeah, because I remember we were like struggling to find the right. I think also it can always be difficult when a song has a life of its own before. I think like when you create it in the moment, there's no point of reference. Whereas like it was a beautiful song as a ballad, and we were like trying to reinvent it in this way that, for me, I just felt like it could have more life, even than it had already. So it was like trying to find the sound that fit. And I think we would like try drums, and I'd be like, it sounds good, but it's not like perfect for this song, or like speaking to like the emotionality of the lyrics.
Yeah, and I think like that's like what I loved about the whole process. Obviously, it was a song that I already loved from an outside perspective, and then just trying to kind of crack the code sonically for what it should be. And like we sort of just threw a load of paint at the wall at first, and like, maybe we were like, okay, that's sick, or we liked it at first and we were like, oh no, it doesn't quite work. So like obviously you had your perspective from like, you had such a clear vision for what you wanted it to be. So then I just was there to just help you achieve that, basically.
I was the crazy person being like, no, let's try something else. Let's try something else. But that's actually the really amazing thing about working with you as well, is that like you're up for exploring whatever serves the song best. Because I think it's easy to get attached to an idea of something that sounds good. Like you can make a song a million ways and it sound great, but it's so I don't know, based on personal preference, but also, I mean, it's all personal preference. Like, I think as an artist, I have to be in love with the version that we create.
Yeah, and I like that. Like, I like not just settling on the first thing and just being happy with that. Like, just keep trying until it feels right. And there was a few moments where we were like unsure, and then there was a moment at the end where it just sort of clicked, and like I could tell your gut was like, no, this is what it should be, and then we kind of like ran with that.
And I'm very like that as well with like gut feeling, and I think across my whole album it's been like that. Sometimes I'll get a version back and it's just like one thing that like just, I feel it literally in my gut where I'm like, no, we're not there yet. And like My Future, one of the first songs I released from this album, there were so many, I remade that song probably like more than 10 times, I think. I even worked with lots of different people because every time I did it, it just like didn't feel right. And then there is a point where you hear it, I'm listening in headphones and I'm like, sounds great. My nervous system is calm, I love it. Like,
yeah.
And then that's the moment that you can let go of it.
Yeah.
I think 100%. We got there quite a little bit faster with Lean On Me.
yeah, a little bit faster.
But yeah, it was a fun process. I would say no, because I think the way that I write is always very organic to my experience. Like, I'm just writing about what's happening in my life at that time, and musically, whatever serves the song is what the song will be. Like, I'm never going in to write. I mean, the majority of the album, it was just like exploring in a room with people that I loved working with, that I knew I had a great synergy with, and like that I felt free to express, I felt listened to, I felt valued in the space. Because I think especially as a woman in music, you have to find producers and other musicians that don't invalidate your creativity and find value in the input that you have. And I'm definitely someone, as Grace knows, that like has a lot of opinions and like likes to hear things a certain way. But I love to work with people that we both appreciate what the other person does, and so we can just be great and expressive in the moment, and it just feels like this really beautiful collaborative process. And then you come out with stuff and you're like, oh, this, like, and then I kind of piece it together. They're actually, having said that, the ballad on the album was, I think, the last song that we did, and I was like, I haven't got a ballad on the album. I've written so many other different types of songs. That's what I want to try and do today. And I happened to also be heartbroken, so it was perfect to make a ballad. And that's one of my favourite songs actually on the album. It's called Crossroads. So yeah, it kind of naturally, I think I with this project, I wrote a lot. And in previous projects, I've wanted to release every song I've written, whereas this one, I wrote a lot both in London and in LA, and then I kind of refined the ones that I felt were the most special or the most powerful, or they spoke to like who I am or who I was at the time the best, and then kind of pieced them together. It's like, I think each song is different, and like some songs can take you 10 minutes to write and it's easy. Some songs can take you 2 months to write and it feels like pulling teeth, and both those songs could be as special as each other. Like, it doesn't always mean if it's easier or if it's hard that it's not a song worth finishing. Like, I think you have a gut feeling when you write. Like, when I wrote Lean On Me, I had a gut feeling that I was like, this, I love this. Like, this like hits me somewhere that feels meaningful. I have to follow through regardless of how long it takes to finish. And sometimes it's worth that persevering process. I think, I don't know about other artists, but I always tap into the feeling, especially when I'm performing a song, that I felt. Like, I might not feel that anymore. Like, there's a song, I'm laughing because there's a song on the album that, like, it's such a deep song, and the guy was not worth shit. Like, it was not worth the drama I was putting into these lyrics. But it meant something to me at the time, and it felt like the most important thing to write about in that moment. And I always joke about it when I'm on stage, because it's like, we've all been there. We think like, this is the one. I have to persevere through the craziness. But like, I think, I don't know what other people do during heartbreak, because at least I got a song out of it. Like, when something goes wrong and it feels like a traumatic experience, or it feels like a waste of like all this time you waste on how emotional you feel, I know the silver lining is that I can write something beautiful and I can make something out of that pain that feels useful, that might help other people, or like might help me process my emotion. So the song is always meaningful to me, and I'm always so grateful that I had the experience, because I got to write this thing that, like, I think whenever I write a song, whenever you're trying to write another song, you always think that you can't write a song as good as the one that you love. And so it feels really special, because it's like, wow, I made this creative thing that I'm so proud of, and I turned this experience or this memory into this beautiful storyline. And I just, like, I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I can always, like, find the preciousness in that, in the moment. Unless I hate the person, and then maybe I won't release it. I can't go back to it. I mean, I don't know about other songwriters, but that is how I actually feel. Like, any of my friends that know me, I am, my family's always called me, like, really sensitive or, like, really dramatic. It is that real for me at the time. I'm not, like, I don't embellish. I'm, like, a very earnest person. So even, there's a song that I have, it's not on this album, it's probably going to be released afterwards. And I think about all the time the fact that when I wrote, in the song I talk about meeting someone at a restaurant at 8. We met at 5, but 5 didn't rhyme. And I think about it all the time because I lied. So, like, my songs are really earnest. Like, it's really, like, what I feel about what happened. And I have met songwriters that's, like, have created chaos in their life in order to have plot, to have songs to write, which I think is insanity, because my nervous system can't handle all of that. That's so crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think as creative people, you just feel a lot, and it's a beautiful thing to feel the depth of your emotion. It's in every, like all things in life, there's a balance to it, and it's like a yin and yang situation where you have this beautiful creativity, but it also means that things that hurt really hurt, and you overthink things and you fixate on things, and you're probably quite an obsessive person, and, like, you have all these other characteristics that might be difficult to carry, but they also make you good at your job in some way. And I think for perspective and to not go crazy, you have to be able to appreciate the balance of that. I write about whatever is in my mind at the time. Like, when I wrote Lean On Me, I was in LA. I had been out, and then my friend had called me, and we were on the phone until really late, until like 3 a.m. And I'm like a good girl. Like, if I have a session, I don't want to be tired. So I was kind of annoyed when I got to my session, because I didn't want to be like, I wanted to have like a full night of sleep. But he was giving me advice on, like, a breakup I'd gone through, and I had felt like he hadn't really been that vocal on it, like, yet, and I'd felt a little bit like he hadn't really, like, supported me. And he just gave me the advice that I really needed to hear, and it was, like, at the right time that it came. And he was also going through a big life transition, which meant that he might not be able to show up for me, and that would be okay, because his life was really tough at that moment. And that's what I was thinking about when I got to the session. I was like, I don't know what to write about. I'm tired. My voice is probably not going to work properly. It's going to be husky. And then I was just like, oh, the power of friendship, the power of showing up for people in your life, the power of closeness and real connection coming from moments of vulnerability, moments of saying I need help and someone actually helping you. And that's when you realise you've made a friend for a lifetime.
I think, well, obviously, like, lyrically and stuff, we didn't really stray too far from where...
No, it stayed the same lyrically.
Yeah. So it was kind of like more about capturing that feeling that you had when you wrote it in LA, and just bringing the song away. It, obviously, because it is quite a positive song, really. It's not necessarily like a ballad field, and like,
but it's like how you come out of hard times.
Exactly.
And I think I always like, actually, in my songs in general, if there is, if there's always a deep thread, but with, like, an uplifting, empowered message, because I think that, like, that's the most important. I'm, like, quite an optimistic person, and so I want it to always feel like you're prevailing through the trauma that you might be experiencing. I don't know, I don't think I could write, like, fully just, like, sad, everything's sad and I'm so sad about life. I don't think I could do that, because I would like hate singing them as well. Yeah. But, like, musically, I think we wanted, I especially wanted, like, in my mind, it to have that, the chorus to have that, like, uplifting
Yeah, and I think you
feel.
achieved that. Obviously, like it comes through in the lyrics, but also like in the sound that we've created. It like it does have that kind of like euphoric, uplifting feeling.
And I think finding like drums that like moved the song.
Yeah.
Like I think sometimes we start with like, I think we tried like drums that were more like hip hoppy, and then it was like swinging too much.
Yeah.
And then like I can't remember what other types of drums we tried. So many. I think we tried like every.
Probably
Didn't we even
every
try like
rhythm,
garage drums?
I think
like,
so. Yeah.
I feel
yeah.
like we went through everything, and then we came to the drums that we have, which felt like they were really like pacing. I think one of the references was like Emily Sunday Heaven at some point.
Yeah, with that kind of like break beat, that kind of like
And that like
drove
energy and that like power of like, especially like at the end, like the final chorus when it's like saying "Call on me." I want it, and like layering the vocals and having loads of harmonies, it almost feeling a bit like choiry. I think that was a big part of it, especially a song that's about friendship and community and like coming together. You want it to feel like full and like layered. But yeah, I think so. I think like you'll have your inspiration and your ideas, and I'll have mine, and it doesn't work unless we inspire each other. Like if I didn't trust you and your creative ability, we wouldn't make a great song.
100%. And I think like I said, like you did have such a clear, like the message in the song so clear, and also your vision for where you wanted it to go was so clear. So that makes what I do so easy, because it's just about bringing that to life and like achieving that in the best way for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think like there's such intricacy to that. I think for me, it's, as you were saying before, like it's such a feeling. And even I think we recorded the piano like in the computer, and then we re-recorded it on the upright piano.
Oh yeah.
And I've got like
because it
pictures
just
of
didn't
you like
have
playing
that,
it
like
through.
it didn't feel like human enough.
Yeah, it didn't feel warm enough. I think we used like too many produced sounds, and we wanted to bring in that balance between kind of organic sounds and like produced sounds. So we had like the synths.
Yeah,
and it's like sometimes it's like the one thing. It's like I remember you put like some synth line in the second verse, and I was just like, yeah, that is like exactly what it needed. And it's like maybe a lot of people wouldn't notice that.
It's those little subtle things though. Yeah. Definitely. But I think the mix of organic and programmed, like synthy sounds, like is what makes it feel like contemporary.
Raw. Yeah, contemporary but raw at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll be interested from your perspective, actually.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it in terms of like trusting each other, like having a shared vision for what you're trying to achieve, and like having like similar taste. But ultimately, it is just trusting each other, like in having your own roles and like being able to be like, okay, this is what you're amazing at. Like, what can I do to help you facilitate that, basically? Yeah,
and I guess also that thing of like, you want to contribute but not step on toes. It's like I think it's a really fine balance, I think, actually, especially when you don't know someone. If you're going into a room with someone that you've never really met before, you're kind of doing this dance of like, I think a great session is when there's no ego in the room, everybody's up for trying stuff. If you have an idea, I'm not going to be like, no, don't do that. I don't want to hear the bass sounding like that. And equally, if I have an idea, you're not going to be like, before we've tried it, that won't work.
Yeah, but you also need to be honest enough to be like, no, that idea was a bit shit. Like, I don't
once
really like.
Once
do you know
you
what
try
I mean?
it,
because that's also trust as well. To be like, don't let me do something that's not right.
And also that like, I'm not going to offend you, because the aim is to serve the song. And I think I struggled with that when I was younger. Like, if I didn't like something, being scared to say it, and so then you end up with a song that you don't really love.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And I'm someone that like, if it doesn't sit right with me, I can't do it. Like, I don't know whether it's a mix of like stubbornness and intuition, but like if it's not like the right vibe, the song will never come out. I can never release something that I don't like truly love. And I think, it's like finding people that you feel so comfortable with, that like you can express yourself, I can express myself. We're willing to be wrong as well, like about an idea. Like, we'll try it, it doesn't work, it's not a bad vibe. There's nothing worse than you have like a bad vibe in a session where like it's all just going wrong and everybody's getting in their head about it. I think like, do you know what, you've been in those sessions?
Oh yeah, so many times.
And it's like, you just have to try something else. Like, if we had given up on the second drum beat that we didn't like, we wouldn't have the song. But we both had a shared vision that we would get there.
I think that's what it is, yeah. Like, I knew that when you said, no, I do like that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, then I believed you. Do you know what I mean? Where sometimes people just say, oh yeah, it's cool, I like it, but you don't necessarily know where they stand. So it's good to have that like really honest line of communication.
And you have to know what you want in that sense.
Exactly, yeah. That's the hardest part artistically, is like having that vision.
It's interesting because I think like as a female musician, it's something that is a big part of my experience of music, is finding people to work with that I don't feel invalidated by, and I feel like my presence is valued and my artistry is valued. And I think that I've spent my whole career trying to find that, to the point where I don't want to be in a room with someone making my album, which is my baby and my life's work and also my raw emotion. It's like such a vulnerable thing, writing songs with someone that doesn't get me. Like that I can't think of anything worse. And so I think like you do a lot of sessions in order to find those people. And me and Grades met a really long time ago. We met when I was like 17 or 19 or something. And we had a session that was like, I don't know, I don't even know what we were doing. It was like a pitching session or something.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I was doing back then. Yeah.
No, you were always the guy. And I was just like, I had long hair then. I don't think I'd had many sessions at that point. But it was really nice. We hadn't really like been in touch since then. But then when I reached out to work on Lean On Me, it was really nice that we'd like had that kind of full circle.
Definitely, yeah. And obviously like I'd always been a huge fan of yours. That's why I reached out to try and work with you even back then. And like it's quite, I think there's even like a Polaroid of that session from like back
and I look like such a baby.
No, but it's like, it's good that it's come around full circle, and we do obviously have that history as well. So being able to obviously come back to this like full circle moment is pretty cool.
I think it's actually really important among musicians and artists and producers, like that you actually, it's such a vulnerable thing writing songs. Like you should have friendships with people. They should, like, you work with them for ages. Some songs take so long to finish. Like you build relationships with those people that you work with, that like you talk, like also songwriting can be like a therapy session. You talk about things that are going on in your life, so you get like a depth of friendship quite quickly. And I don't think, obviously it's such a commercialized industry, but it should still be like, we're still creating art, like we're still making something beautiful together, we're still like sharing our creativity. And I think it's important that you do it with people that you love to be around, that you feel safe around, that like you're comfortable, that you can truly express yourself, because then you'll make something that is authentic to who you are. I think if you just end up being back to back in a bunch of sessions with people you don't know and don't respect, you might not get art that really speaks to who you are as a person. Social media makes me want to quit music. It actually makes me want to not do the thing that I think I was put on the planet to do. Like there's nothing that I feel more calm and centered and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do when I'm at my piano at home writing a song and I'm in that like thing that people call flow state. Like there is nothing that makes me feel more purposeful than that moment. And yeah, it for me, it really invalidates it. Like I get how useful it is and how useful it can be for an artist, but I think it sits in a really different space to like the authenticity of creativity when you're doing it for an audience to get a certain reaction. Like I want to make art because I love it and it speaks to my life and I'm being raw and honest and vulnerable, and that allows my audience to also be raw and honest and vulnerable, and then we like connect through that process. And I think sometimes that thing of having to make videos or songs that are shorter, that are faster, that grab someone's attention in the first 5 seconds, otherwise they're not going to click through, that changes the way that you make your art. And then you're not making it because of how you feel, you're making it because of what you think someone else wants, which is literally the worst thing to do when you're making anything. Like there's nothing worse than trying to make a song with an A&R in the room. Like if you're like making something with someone else's idea in your head, it's really impossible to make something that feels authentic to you. And so I think like it's a really tough balance. Like I obviously do use it, and I see the value of it, but I do think that it's the downfall of real art and creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. Like I share a lot of what you've just said, and like pretty much every artist that I work with seems like they feel the same. Like but again, like you said, like you want to make the most authentic art to you, but then you also, you know, it is a career at the end of the day. You want people to hear it, so you have to find ways to promote it. And so unfortunately, that is just the way that the climate is at the moment. But I think it's just about,
it's become such an integral part of being an artist, especially as an independent artist. Like, that is how you navigate releasing your music a lot of the time.
It is. And then if you don't engage with that, then it can have a negative effect on,
I think
on
it does.
your audience.
Yeah, I think that I think as an artist today, there is no way that you can't engage with those social media platforms and have a career. I think it's quite impossible, and that's quite a scary thing, I think, as well.
It is, but I think maybe the best thing, which I think you've been able to do to a degree, is to just not let it compromise the actual creation of the music and use it as a tool, which you're really good at, a promotional tool. And then so obviously the content and everything that comes around, it's just a way to like market the music, which is true to you, and if you're not compromising that side of things.
Yeah, I think that it's a really delicate and hard space to navigate, because I think making art that is true to me, I wouldn't enjoy my life and my existence if I knew that I was doing it for this other reason that wasn't to kind of just be genuine. But then at the same time, you feel like the pressure to be an influencer, be a content creator, which basically most people are being forced to be in like modern culture. And like it's very hyper-capitalist. You're being a walking advert, and I think like branding can be a part of your career as an artist. Like, that is an important part, but it shouldn't be the sole purpose of your career. Like, art serves a purpose in the world, which I think is really undervalued in the modern era. I think that we're forgetting how much film, music, visual art makes the world go round. When you're going through something, when a parent dies, when you need, like, art is integral, poetry is integral, and I feel like it's all changing because of the way that the internet is now. And I hope that people will value full albums, will be able to watch a music video that's longer than a minute long. Like, it's changing the way that we engage with creativity, and that's, I think, a sad thing for like human existence to get very deep with it, because like I love making music videos, and I will have to fight to do that, because people would much prefer you to just do a TikTok campaign. Making a visual piece of art to go with the music that you made that is an extension of it is like so important for an artist. But if I'm only doing it for the metric of like not like the way that it like accumulates, then that's a different reason to make the thing, which might change why you make it or what you make. So yeah, I could talk about this for ages.